1,
2,
3,
4.
Monster movie.
Fun time, go! Monster movie.
Fun time, go. Monster.
Movie.
Fun time.
Go!
Monster movie. Fun time, go.
With Precious D and Honey Bee.
Fun time, go!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends and neighbors, welcome to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. I am one of your hosts, Precious D.
And I am the other one of your hosts, Honey Bee.
And we are doing that thing where we're together in the same room.
Yay! This never happens. It feels very special to be recording together.
So, if this is somehow your first time, we are two best friends making our way through the history of kaiju movies. We started in 1933 with King Kong, and today we're up to 2013.
Jeez.
The movie is Jack the Giant Slayer, which was originally titled Jack the Giant Killer, which is relevant because there's two other movies called Jack the Giant Killer. And because this is based on fairy tale, folklore, what have you. Honeybee, what are your initial thoughts on Jack the Giant Slayer?
Going into the movie, I was like, man, is this gonna suck? Just because it's based off of, Jack and the Beanstalk, right?
It is, though. I was going to get to that.
Okay. But I was like, man, I don't know how they're gonna, I was just kind of nervous about it being kind of suckish, but I actually did enjoy a lot of things from this film, and I thought that they did a pretty good job considering that, I will say this. My favorite characters in the movie are not the main characters.
Okay.
But I did think that it was good.
Who were your favorite characters?
The king.
Okay.
He was a great king. He was such a great king. When, his daughter is up the beanstalk and he's having to think, am I gonna chop it down to save my people even though my daughter isn't back yet, and making this really hard decision.
Right.
He was totally down to make it. And then at one point when they're fighting and there's a battle going on, he sends her away and then is right there at the front line fighting with his people. And I was just like, damn, what a man, what a king. Because I feel like, usually it's Your Highness, we've got to get you out of here, terrible things are happening, but he was just no, I'm gonna fight, these are, my people. And then my other favorite character was the tiny head on the
And the two-headed giant.
yeah, but just the tiny head guy who's just all the time.
Right.
I loved him.
So you hadn't seen this before?
I had not seen this before.
I saw it when it came out. I can't remember if I saw it in the theater or just, when it was on cable shortly afterwards. But I saw it back in 2013 at some point. And I remember mostly enjoying it at the time.
Did you not? Did you not enjoy it this time?
No, it's not that I didn't enjoy it. It's just that it's Jack and the Beanstalk.
Yeah.
Okay, so the thing is, Jack the Giant Killer and Jack and the Beanstalk are two separate fairy tales.
Oh.
But there's lots of people named Jack in fairy tales, and there's a lot of giants or giant adjacent trolls, ogres, that kind of thing. Some of them, they're actually the same thing. It just depends on who's telling the story.
Yeah.
on the country of origin or whatever, but they behave exactly the same way. So this is not the only time that people have taken those two things and smashed them together. So it's not that, I don't know. I'm not saying it necessarily would have been better if they had just stuck with one story or the other. And maybe they thought calling it Jack and the Beanstalk was corny, or maybe they just didn't know there was a difference or didn't care. Or I don't know. I do not know. The other thing is, I did a little research after watching it for this show, and the original or early versions of Jack the Giant Killer are connected to Arthurian legends. They're, King Arthur.
Okay.
So the king is King Arthur in Jack the Giant Killer.
Oh.
And none of the movies called Jack the Giant Killer, they all have kings in them, I think. No, well, next week, folks, we are going to talk about 2 other movies called Jack the Giant Killer.
Yeah, you're getting a 2-for-1.
One that we skipped or didn't notice or whatever from back in the 60s, 50s. And then the other one that is, of course, from the goddamn asylum trying to cash in on this movie. So I don't know that the asylum one has a king in it, but the other one definitely does, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. So I just don't understand why not just make it King Arthur if you're making a movie. I think maybe also the general public is more familiar with Jack and the Beanstalk than they are Jack the Giant Killer. So I think it might just be that they're just giving the public what they think the public is expecting.
Give the people what they want.
Yeah. I want that beanstalk. Give me them beans. So let's talk about the cast. Oh, well, first we'll do the other stats. Let's see. It is directed by Bryan Singer,
Ooh.
who's done a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, it's a legendary film.
Including Superman Returns, that I thought I hated until I saw Man of Steel. It is 114 minutes in color from the United States. In English, the budget was 185 to 200 million. The box office was 197 million.
Oh.
So not
damn it.
really a hit.
Ugh, yikes on a bike.
The cast is Nicholas Hoult as Jack, who
I feel
I
like, haven't
just
we
saw.
seen this kid? Like, didn't we watch this kid grow up? Like, through the years? Wasn't he, like, a kid actor?
Oh, I'm not sure, but he was in the Clash of the Titans remake that we watched as one of the supporting characters. He wasn't the lead, but he was. And I just saw him a couple weeks ago in Nosferatu.
Oh, cool.
He is also in that zombie love movie. Not zombie love, but zombie love story.
Zombie romance.
It's a zombie romance. What the heck is it called? Balls. He's in Mad Max Fury Road. Warm Bodies. Warm Bodies is the zombie movie. And was he in Renfield? I feel like he was in Renfield, but I'm not seeing it listed here.
I feel like I might have seen him, in his younger, like much younger years. He looked very familiar to me in the face, but I was like, oh, I think I know this kid from like shit, when he was a kid.
I mean, you've seen him in things. He was in Skins. That was a series. Clash of Titans. He was the Beast in X-Men First Class.
Okay.
I thought he was in Renfield. It's not listing it here, but who cares? Eleanor Tomlinson is Princess Isabel. I did not recognize her from anything.
Neither.
She's been in other things. War of the Worlds from 2019. Stanley Tucci, which I did recognize as Lord Roderick. Ian McShane as King Bromwell. You've all seen both of those guys in lots of things. Bill Nighy as General Fallon. That is the big head of the two-headed giant. Ewan McGregor as Elmont, just McGregoring it up.
All the way.
Just
I'm like, in the
Kenobiing
combat
it all over
scenes,
the
I'm like,
place.
wow, you really are just a little dinky theater kid.
Eddie Marzen as Craw. Ewan Bremer, another Ewan, as Wiki. Ralph Brown as General Etten. John Kaiser as General Fallon Smallhead.
Yeah.
Cornell John as Fee. Andrew Brooke as Phi. Angus Barnett as Foe. And Ben Daniels as Fum. Yeah, that's what they did in this movie. Christopher Fairbank as Uncle. And I'm not going to go into the whole Wikipedia article about Fee, Fi, Fo, Fum. But this idea that those are people's names, that's a new thing. Now, apparently, though, that phrase, I think, is associated with both Jack the Giant Slayer and Jack of the Beanstalk.
Oh, okay.
But predates at least the written versions of both of those. Shakespeare makes reference to it.
I see you looking at me.
Hey loves, Haley Steinfeld here. Let's be real. When I'm on the red carpet, everyone wants to know whose dress I'm wearing. But here's the thing. We're so focused on those details, we're missing something that's actually way more important. Breast health. It's wild. Breasts get so much attention, but they're still so ignored when it matters most. Don't know what I'm talking about? Tune in on February 9th and visit yourattentionplease.com. That's yourattentionplease.com. See you then.
All right, so let's get into our plot.
I will say that I recently read the BFG.
Uh-huh.
And it was very cute. It was like just small, like a road doll book,
Yeah.
very small. But then I watched the movie and it was so good. I think it's one of the only movies that I've seen after reading a book where I feel like the movie is better. It was just so freaking cute. So I've kind of been on this like giant kick lately, apparently. And I don't know why that's important, but I just wanted to share it.
We'll be getting to some more of those soon. They're all really bad. The Giantess Attacks movies look terrible.
Oh, I can't wait.
I have seen the BFG, but I don't think I've ever actually read it.
It's a little tiny chapter book.
I mean, I've read Willy Wonka, and I've read. I've read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator. But we're not here to brag about what I've read.
Braggadocious.
Okay, so here's the plot from Wikipedia. Thank you, Wikipedia. In the kingdom of Cloister.
Ew.
I don't know what that's about.
That is a disgusting word.
A cloister is a thing. I've never heard of it being a...
What is it?
It's I think it's associated with religious orders.
Oh.
And a place where you go shut yourself off. Like cloistered nuns, or nuns that are, cut off from the world.
It sounds like I don't know. I don't like it though.
It's a place where you're, shut away from the outside world.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like you're shut away parts from the outside world.
Anyway, in that kingdom, in a time long past, monks craft magic beans that grow into a large beanstalk. This is a new thing too, that these beans are somehow religious in nature. They reach the realm of Gantua, home of a race of giants. The giants kill the monks and attack the earth below. Through the use of a magical crown, King Eric manages to control the giants and force them to return, and the beanstalk is cut down. When Eric dies, his crown and the remaining beans are buried with him to keep them safe. So we get this info dump at the beginning in the form of a bedtime story to both Jack and the princess.
Isabel. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But Jack's father and Isabel's mother.
And we kind of see like that they're living two different lives, but in like a parallel. Like she's a princess. Her mom gives her like a speech of like, you will be a better queen. And Jack is poor.
Yes. But they get the same bedtime story. So. Mm-hmm. Years later, Jack, an orphaned 18-year-old peasant, so his dad that was reading the story in the beginning is now dead. And I guess his mother had been dead for a while. She probably died in childbirth. He is, I'm just saying, historically, the chances are pretty high.
Yeah.
Anyway, he is sent by his uncle to sell his horse, Answer, and his cart at market.
I love this part because you already tell what kind of like person Jack is when his uncle is like, don't get distracted. I'm like, oh yeah, here we go.
Yeah. There he runs into a disguised Princess Isabel, whom he defends from an attack. So she likes to, go slumming.
Like you do.
Dress up and go out amongst her people. Also, she just gets bored as shit in the castle, I think. When they say an attack, I think it's an impending sexual assault that's gonna happen.
In this part, though, when the guy like walks up and he's like, hey, pretty, where'd you get that? I don't know, it's like a bracelet or something. Yeah. I swear to God, she said, your mother. And I was like, what? But then I was watching it with Gus and he was like, no, she said my mother. Yes. I was like, oh, I heard your mother. I was like, damn, get it, princess.
So, yeah, they attempt to just attack a woman in broad daylight in front of witnesses, but Jack intervenes. And then the royal guard show up and they take Isabel back to the castle. Afterwards, Jack realizes that his cart was stolen. Meanwhile, so he stopped to watch a puppet show. No, not a puppet show, but a stage show. This was actually pretty clever. There are some dwarves putting on a show about King Eric and the Giants. Mm-hmm. And they're dwarves so that the average size people come in playing the Giants.
Yeah, smart.
And the narrator, head dwarf, is Warwick Davis.
Willow!
Who was not listed in those credits I just fucking read, but I'm glad that I remembered.
Well, that is fucking rude.
My alarm just went off.
Not your alarm that they didn't mention. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure he's in the IMDb page, but he's not.
Yeah.
In the Wikipedia page.
Yeah, as soon as I said him, I was like, it's Willow.
Loves me some Warwick Davis. Meanwhile, Lord Roderick, second in command to King Bromwell, has collected the beans and crown. And I don't know that I've ever seen Stanley Tucci with so much hair.
I know. That's literally my next note. I said, oh, with the long hair.
Yeah. He usually just goes all natural with his bald head. A monk steals the beans, runs into Jack while trying to escape, and exchanges the beans for answer, warning Jack not to get the beans wet and don't feed them after midnight. And what's the third rule?
He says, some of these beans have the power to change the world as we know it, and whatever you do, don't get them wet.
Yes. But I was making a Gremlins joke.
Oh.
Don't feed the beans after midnight. Isn't there a third rule? There's a third rule, right?
Sunlight?
Sunlight. Keep the beans out of sunlight. Beans need sunlight to grow. Anyway, the monk flees, pursued by the guards. Isabel later sneaks out of the castle again, but is caught in a storm before coming upon Jack's door. While they talk, the rain leaks into the house and wets a bean.
Oh my gosh, hold on. And wets a bean. Okay, wait. Before this happens, though, Jack and his uncle have this conversation about how, like, Jack's trying to tell him what happened when, he was trying to sell the horse but got distracted, just like he said he would. And his uncle is like, Jack, you've got to grow up. Like, you're 18 years old. Like, he has this and it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
Like, he even says that Jack was, like, basically a burden to him.
Yeah, his uncle's a real dick.
I know. I was like, how fucking rude. Like, What the hell? Rude. I just didn't think that really had anything to do with the story. I'm like, why are they making his uncle a shit face?
Yeah.
Why couldn't he just be, like, a nice, caring... But he's like, you got robbed, you cheeky cunt. Like, he's just very rude.
Well, I mean, they don't, it's implied, but they don't come right out and tell us or show us. But I guess Jack fucks up like this all the time, and he's just reached the end of his rope.
I guess. And then the same, because we're seeing these, like, parallel lives between the princess and Jack. And she has, like, this kind of same conversation, but her father is wonderful, where she's like, I don't want to marry someone I don't love, father. And he's like, oh, you're just like your mother, and, whatever.
She didn't love me.
Yeah. and she's supposed to marry the guy with the long hair.
Yeah. Stanley Tucci.
And it's funny too because she's like, why would I marry a man twice my age that I don't love? And then she like looks up at him, she's like, sorry, and he kind of like shrugs like, hello, I'm standing right here.
That's fair. That's a fair point. I get it. But yeah, because you're a princess and that's part of the job, that's why.
But yeah,
the price you pay for living in a fucking castle and exploiting all the peasants is sometimes you gotta make a political marriage.
Yeah, you gotta suck it up and marry an old dude.
Jesus Christ,
you don't like
fucking royals. This movie's just proper because he keeps talking about how great the king is.
Yeah,
because this is a bunch of fucking royalist propaganda. Kings aren't that good. They suck. They all fucking suck. Every one of them.
I thought he was
talking
great.
To you, Charles.
Because we know you're listening to this fucking podcast right now. And we're looking at you, Charles.
It's the Queen Elizabeth, King Charles, they seem perfectly nice, fine people, but they're still sucking up a bunch of resources that they have no moral right to. Mm-hmm. Fuck them. Fuck them.
Yeah, so bean slips through the cracks.
Yes.
It gets wet.
It gets wet. And it grows into a giant ass beanstalk and wrecks everything. It grows into a massive beanstalk that traps Isabel in the house as it's lifted into the sky.
I will say though, the bean got wet because Jack didn't thatch the roof, which he was supposed to do in the beginning of the movie.
See?
So that is the fuckery, I guess.
Yep.
That is why his uncle's like, son of a.
That's why he was selling the horse and cart, was to get some thatch to fix the
roof. Yeah.
But that's also nonsense. You could just go out and get some thatch. I'm pretty sure that's one of those things
Like
peasants,
off the ground.
Yeah,
just...
I'm pretty sure that's one of those things peasants just gather up, and the only reason to pay someone else is because you're too busy. But clearly their farm sucks, so they have time. They have some thatch gathering time. It's just nobody buys thatch. I don't know. If I'm wrong, let me know. Send us a note.
Yeah,
tell me all about the thatch industry.
But yeah,
thatchers.
the beanstalk sprouts everywhere in all directions and takes the house and the princess up with it. And there's a whole thing about heights and trying to get him in, but he falls. Of course everybody shows up. The next morning, Bromwell sends Roderick and other knights up the beanstalk to retrieve Isabel. Jack volunteers to join because, he's already gone partway up it, right? Mm-hmm. He came back and did he fall down? Yeah, he fell down. He's like trying to get in, but his like front door swings out, and he slips, and then he's like holding onto the ledge, and he eventually she just can't catch him.
His
falls
shitty
down.
unthatched house. Jack volunteers to join. During the climb, Roderick takes advantage of an accident to secretly cause most of the knights' death. It's a little unclear why he did that. It just seemed like he was being a dick. He cuts their rope.
Yeah. He makes like a comment about like getting rid of the dead weight.
Yeah.
I think it's literally just so there's not many people to fight back, to fight him.
Yeah, because he's going to pull some shenanigans. He's going to stage a coup. He's trying to get his hands on the beans. This all happened because of his plan. Mm-hmm. He wants to get a hold of the crown of giant control, and that's what it would be called in Dungeons and Dragons.
The crown of giant control.
Yeah, because there are like wands of dragon control and stuff. So. Okay. Anyway, he wants that and the beans so that he can get to the giants and use them to take over the kingdom. And now somebody's, fucked up the plan slightly, but he's just adjusting. And so, if he gets rid of those knights... If he gets rid of those knights, then when the time comes, he'll have fewer people to kill. After reaching Gantua, Roderick corners Jack and takes the remaining beans from him, though Jack secretly keeps one.
He keeps one bean and puts it in his locket.
Yep. Which I guess has a picture of his mother or his father.
Or both.
They don't give us a real good look. The group splits up. Knights Elmont and Craw are knocked out and taken captive by a giant. Roderick pushes Knight Bald down a cliff, while another giant appears and eats servant Wiki.
Aww.
Chomp. Roderick reveals the crown and forces the giants to obey him. So he already had the crown? Yeah, he had the crown.
Yeah, he actually hid it in a flower pot when they're like ransacking the shit, and like when the monk steals the beans and shit.
Yeah.
Roderick goes and he checks, and the crown, he's hidden it in like a flower pot. He like digs all the dirt out and he's like, I still have it,
So I think he had stolen it from like
the tomb. He had to have like gotten it from, because it was buried with the guy.
Oh, right. King Eric?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is kind of weird anyways, because I'm like, wouldn't they sprout in the, because his casket is like, wood and shit. I guess it wouldn't get wet. I don't know. I just kind of thought that was silly.
I mean, really, if there are beans that produce giant beanstalks, there should be giant beanstalks all over the place.
Yeah, seriously.
Because, beanstalks make more beans.
Have you ever seen that? I can't remember what it is now, but it's just like ringing in my head. It's like it's in a movie or something where it's like, I shouldn't have sucked off that wizard for those magic beans.
In the original story, they are magic beans. So someone has created these, they weren't naturally harvested. Someone has created these beans, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. It never made any sense.
It doesn't, it doesn't really.
Why do the beans do this?
And
whose idea was this?
Why did the giant who came and took the two unconscious guys not check his trap? There's a whole trap. Like, there's a trap. He, like, gets stuck in the trap. And then they cut themselves out, Jack and the other guy. And then the giant comes, takes the other guys, never checks his trap. I was like, well, what the fuck was the trap for then? I don't know either.
I don't even
It bothered me.
remember that part. Anyway, let's see. Roderick reveals the crown and forces the giants to obey him. Elmont and Craw are taken to the leader of the giants, Fallon, and are reunited with Isabel. Although at one point, one of the other giants says to Fallon, "You're not our king." They basically don't have a king. It's not that someone else is their king. It's like, that's just not how things work. Who put you in charge?
Yeah.
You're not the boss of me.
Also, one of the giants like smells Isabel and is like, "You're a descendant of King Eric. We never forget a smell. Your
right.
bloodline betrays you."
I smell the blood of an Englishman. Although I don't think anyone actually says that in the movie.
Right. This is as close as it
That's
gets.
the idea. Yeah.
Oh, and we get to see the little head, and like he's like telling all the giants like, "Oh," like commanding them, and the head's just like, and I just love that so much.
Fallon eats Craw before Roderick arrives wearing the crown and takes command. He proclaims himself king of the giants, sits down in a gigantic chair like it's his throne, but he looks like a little child in it. Orders that Isabel and Elmont be eaten and has the giants prepare to descend the beanstalk and conquer the world for him.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought he was gonna wait a little bit before he revealed that he was a complete douchebag to everyone, but he really just gets in there quick.
Yeah. Well, he's not wasting time.
Yeah, no time wasted.
Now, and of course, the giants make a horrible mistake. Instead of just eating them raw, they decide to cook them. Jack eventually kills the chef who was to cook Isabel and Elmont. So they're preparing them like pigs in a blanket.
Yes, exactly like pigs in a blanket.
And he's singing a little song about it and everything, which gives Jack time to stab the guy in the back with a kitchen knife.
And then kind of ride him a little bit off the knife. You gotta save everybody, Jackie boy.
The three flee towards the beanstalk but find their way blocked by another giant. Jack and Elmont trick him into falling off the edge. When the giant hits the ground, the body is seen by Bromwell. Fearing a giant invasion, he orders the beanstalk cut down. So first, a whole bunch of knights came tumbling down, and it was clear that their rope had been cut. And then a giant falls down. And he's been trying to put off cutting it down because one of his advisors is like, "Do you want us to cut it down?"
Yeah.
Like, not yet. He's like, "Are you sure?" So yeah, he finally does the kingly thing. Is like, "Yeah, we got to cut this shit down or we're all gonna die." Jack and Isabel climb down the beanstalk while Elmont stays behind to fight Roderick.
Oh, but they put the beehive. They put the beehive in the giant's face armor to climb down.
Yeah,
It's so
was
good.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
really good. That's a plan.
You mean his helmet?
Oh, what did I say?
Face armor? I mean, it was a helmet that had a little face thing that, not all helmets do, but it did have a face plate.
Yeah. Helmet
Face
is
armor.
face armor. Same thing. You knew what I meant. But one little, he finally gets him out, and then one little sassy bee just, flies up to him, and he kind of, gets a little cross-eyed looking at it, and just, goes towards him, and he, falls back.
Jack and Isabel climb down the beanstalk while Elmont stays behind to fight Roderick, killing him.
But their scene where they're fighting, this is when I was like, come on, McGregor, or what is his name?
It's McGregor.
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor.
Because he's amazing. I love him. He's adorable. He looks great. He's a great actor, whatever. But this combat scene, I was like, oh, God, it's so bad. Like him and Roderick fighting. They're just like, like cat fight. Like I was like, oh my gosh, come on, men, get it together. This is the leader of your army? It was just very silly. It just was just ridiculous.
Oh, is this when he gives him the badge?
Oh yeah, he does give him the
So
badge
he's like-
before. Yeah, he's like, you're one of us now, Jack.
Yeah, he basically makes Jack an honorary royal guard because he just kind of snaps off a little badge
Yeah.
shield thing that's part of his armor and gives it to Jack. I'm like, why did that come off so easily?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And then the little head, the little dude in his little face armor.
Anyway, Fallon takes the crown, claiming the title of king. And of course, he doesn't put the crown on his head because he's giant. He puts it on two of his fingers. He kind of wears it like a ring, but it's a little too big for one finger. So he puts it over two fingers.
Which I kind of liked because if you look at your own two fingers, you can kind of get an idea of this size of the giants compared to the people.
Yeah.
Because Roderick put that on his head, and then the giant puts it over his two fingers. I was looking at my two fingers, okay, if I was a giant and this was somebody's head,
I guess they'd be about G.I. Joe size.
Yeah.
About the size of that Aquaman over there. You
Yep.
folks can't see it. There's a 13-inch Aquaman on my shelf.
13-inch. Wow. Go Aquaman.
I think he's actually more than 12 inches. I think he's 13. Anyway. Meanwhile, the beanstalk falls away and Elmont rides it to the ground. Yeah, it's funny. As Jack and Isabel are climbing down, they're like, "Oh, look!
They're waiting for us.
Yeah, they're down there. Look, my dad's down there. I can see my house from here." Your house, however, is halfway up the beanstalk. But no, they're already trying to chop down the beanstalk. That's why.
But it is really cool when the beanstalk starts like coming down and they kind of swing around it. I was like, oh, that's pretty sick.
Yeah. So Elmont rides it to the ground. Isabel is reunited with Bromwell and who rewards Jack for her rescue. The group departs and Jack remains behind. I mean, he gives him a big pouch of gold, but.
Oh, but he says something so cool. He says, like, as a king, I can reward you with lots of things, but as a father, I can never thank you enough for, like, saving Isabel. I was like, sniffle. That's so sweet.
Was there something about, I think they have a little bit about his father having served with the king in, a war.
Oh, I
confusing that with something else.
I don't remember
that's
that.
the other. No, it's the other Jack.
Oh, okay.
It's the other movie.
Yeah, my next line is Jack fiddling his bean, which I don't.
As one does.
I don't know what that is about.
Fallon finds the remaining beans and uses them to grow more beanstalks, which the giants ride to the ground. So these stalks go up, but they don't go up to a second layer of giant land. They
go
bend
up and
over and go down.
And the little dude says beans, and I was squealing. I love him. He's the star of the show.
Yeah. Reuniting with Answer, Jack sees the new beanstalks approaching and decides to warn Isabel. Not just her, everybody.
And he does this on the horse that he traded for the damn beans.
Yes. As they say, he's riding, trying to catch up with everybody, yelling "giants," and they're like, "Oh, there's Jack's coming. What is he want?" After they reach the safety of the city walls, the drawbridge is raised and oil is poured into the moat to light it on fire. Fallon and of course Jack gets in the gate just in the nick of time. Fallon, initially seeming to drown in the fiery moat, finds an underwater passageway into the catacombs under the castle, breaking into the throne room and capturing Jack and Isabel in the process.
It's pretty cool when they're like hiding in the big cloak and then he like finds them, Mm-hmm. I really liked that scene. And like he grabs her and then like Jack is like fighting him. And it's so sweet because they're fighting and he's about to eat Isabel. And then Jack's like, ah! So he like looks over, like picks up Jack. And then he just like gets his last little bean and pops it down his throat.
Yes.
It's glorious.
Yeah. And Jack throws the final bean down Fallon's throat. The bean grows into another beanstalk, ripping Fallon apart.
And the little head says,
Brutal.
"Oh, fuck." And boom.
Yeah. Jack takes the crown and uses it to stop the giants' attack. The giants are sent back to Gantua and forced to cut down their beanstalk. Bromwell allows Jack and Isabel to marry. They eventually have twin children. Their story becomes a popular fairy tale, and the crown is secretly crafted into St. Edward's crown. That's part of the crown jewels of the actual, royal family of England. In the present day Tower of London, a boy, Roderick's descendant, gazes at the crown.
Is that what it is?
They never say it, but he clearly, I thought when I looked at him like, oh, I think that kid's meant to look like Stanley Tucci.
I was like, why? I was like, I feel bad, but why does this kid have such an ugly smile?
Yeah. And he's trying to look like Roderick.
Yeah, and I said, and as I was thinking that, I was like, dang, I like wrote it in my notes. This kid, a little tour guide going around, and we see a little student stop and take a good look at it and give a really ugly smile. And I'm like, is that fucked up? And then Gus goes, man, that kid is ugly. But he's like meant to be. Like the person itself isn't, but he's obviously something there. Like he's trying to be like sneaky or something.
Yeah. Then nobody. Oh, does somebody call him Roderick? Maybe the teacher says.
I didn't
Roderick.
hear that, but it's very possible.
Yeah, I think there's something that makes it a little explicit that we're supposed to know he's.
I do love how Jack and Isabel are like reading the story to their children. It was very cute.
Meanwhile, Gantua still exists above London. So yeah, as they show people telling the story and retelling the story and it changing over time so that the horse becomes a cow and it's Jack's mother and not his uncle and that kind of stuff. And at the same time, they're showing the crown, I wouldn't say secretly turned into the St. Edward's crown. It is gradually turned into St. Edward's crown. So first, so I think like there's, the way I read it was that it gets embellished gradually over time. So first it gets dipped in gold.
Right.
And then they add a jewel here and there. And then they add the little curving things that go over the top with the velvet underneath it or whatever. And so it just keeps getting more and more fancy and bigger over time. Which was all fun and all, but also I'm not aware that England was ever called the Kingdom of Cloister. So I don't know what the fuck this is, trying to tell us, oh, this really did happen in the past. And actually that giant controlling crown is in the Tower of London on display to the public. And they pull it out whenever there's a coronation. Just didn't really make sense to me.
I didn't really, I just was like, okay, when they're like making the crown, I was like, well, what is this? I was thinking, because, at the end of the movie, Jack is the king of the giants. And so I was thinking like, oh, well, since he's marrying Isabel and he's going to be king and she's going to be queen, like they're making it into his crown is what I was thinking until then it was like in a museum. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe, okay, all right. That doesn't seem smart, especially with this little weirdo kid at the glass.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I think nobody making this movie actually did any research or went back to the source material. I think they just took their own memories of the story and then just made up a bunch of stuff, because the original story, I think, pretty explicitly takes place in Cornwall, which is, part of England. It's not, it doesn't take place in made up land. It takes place in England, in Cornwall. King Arthur, again, part of the tradition, not whether or not he was actual king, there's some debate, but definitely part of the English tradition. He was king of England in the stories. So why putting it in this fictional country that is also England eventually was just weird.
yeah.
Just weird.
Well, I did think the movie was better than I initially thought going in. Just like everything looked pretty good. The giants looked good. I didn't really love the fee-fi-fo-fum bit, but it was like, whatever, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think? Anything else you want to say about Jack and the, what is it?
Jack the
Beanstalk?
Giant Slayer.
That one. Also, I kind of feel like even though, yes, Jack was killing the giants, it wasn't like he was like the giant slayer.
Yeah.
Like it was pretty accidental.
Yeah.
Like accidentally on purpose.
That's the other thing. In the original stories, Jack is killing multiple giants. They all seem to be isolated incidents, but it's kind of becomes his thing. I mean, I think the real thing is that a bunch of individual stories from folklore got gathered together and stuck together and then written down. But it's not as old as you might think.
The lore?
The written version is from, I think the oldest version is from 1710, something like that. Let me just check. It does mention that it has things in common with Valiant Little Tailor and Jack and the Beanstalk. 1744, 1721. Let's see. The History of Jack and the Giants, which is the earliest known edition, is from 1711.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's a while back.
300 plus
but,
years, yeah.
But we have, written records. We have a published version of it that there's photographs of online and things. It's not ancient. It's a relatively modern story. I can't remember now what my point was. Anyway, that the individual stories within it may have been older stories as part of folklore that were then gathered together and all assigned to this same character, Jack. But each little incident, similar incidents show up in other stories, and each of the gruesome ways in which he kills giants. And we won't go into the details, but some of them are pretty unpleasant. Anyway, Honeybee, what are you going to rate Jack the Giant Slayer?
I think I'm going to give it, I'd say like a low 4. Like, I did enjoy it. I liked it.
Okay. I guess I'll give it a high 3.
Yeah, somewhere around there, yeah.
It was okay.
Yeah, it was okay-ish. There was some good moments. I did like the cast.
Oh, yeah.
The actors were good. It is a legendary film, so, it looks great. But yeah, I think it's a little bit better than okay.
Yeah. Everybody does a good job.
Yeah, for sure.
The CGI in the Giants is pretty good. There's a little uncanny valley going on, but it's pretty good. I mean, I feel like they could have just had actors, and then I don't know, maybe they thought that would look cheap, that it would look just blue screeny Saturday morning Sid Marty Krofft stuff. I don't know.
Yeah,
because I think they did do I don't know if they did motion capture or not, actually. I don't know. I can't be bothered to check. So there you go, folks. Jack the Giant Slayer, which is on Tubi.
Let's see. I watched it on Prime.
Prime, okay. It's probably on a bunch of places. Yeah, it's on Tubi for free. It says it's on Prime to rent, but maybe it's on there for free also.
Yeah, I watched it.
Okay. There you go, folks. Next week we will be talking about Jack the Giant Killer, and we're going to go ahead and talk about the 1962 one and the shitty Asylum.
Which was probably, 2013?
Yes, exactly. I can't remember. It may have, it might be one of those ones that they managed to put it out like a week before the big budget one. But it definitely came out right around the same time, just trying to cash in. Cash in on somebody else's hard work, like the Asylum does.
Like you do.
So, thanks for joining us, folks. Thanks for being here in person, Honeybee.
Yay!
Remember to like and subscribe and rate and review and check out our Patreon and all that fun stuff. Until next time, I have been Precious D.
And I have been Honeybee.
Remember to keep calm and take shelter in basements.
And please, don't misuse science.
We won't see you, but you will hear us next time on Monster Movie Fun Time Go. You've been listening to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. If you enjoyed the show, please consider rating and reviewing us on your podcasting platform of choice. You can leave us a message and find links to all our things at mmftg.com.
Fun time go!